Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. For those of you who are here and online, today is a big event, an exciting event. I'm so grateful to have all of you join us. My name is Naina Gupta. I'm the Associate Director of Policy at the National Immigrant Justice Center, NIJC. And amidst some heavy setbacks for refugees, asylum seekers, and immigrants this week, in the past few weeks, we are super excited to be here today in celebration to mark the return home of U.S. veteran Howard Bailey, who returned to the U.S. last week after over a decade of exile in Jamaica due to his deportation. Howard is one of 11 individuals featured in NIJC's April 2021 white paper, A Chance to Come Home, which offers the Biden administration a roadmap for setting up a central process to give unjustly deported people like Howard a meaningful chance to come home. Earlier this year, at a briefing to mark the release of that proposal, Howard bravely shared his heartbreaking experience and powerful words with the world. Today, I am so thrilled to have him speak to us from Glen Allen, Virginia, alongside his brother Adrian and his mother Jean and other members of his family. We are also so honored to have with us United States Senator Alex Padilla of California, who is on the line to help us welcome Howard home, but also to repeat the call he has led for more support for immigrant veterans. Senator Padilla's leadership was pivotal in bringing home Howard. Finally, we will hear from Elisa Wellick. She is the founding attorney of Just Counsel and former executive director of the Immigrant Defense Project. She has been Howard's attorney for the past decade. And also we will hear from Nana Ghanfi, who is executive director of the Black Alliance for Just Immigration, who will remind us of all of the work left to do to ensure that Black and Brown immigrants are not deported and painfully separated from family. Today's program will run at just 30 minutes. We ask that you hold questions. You can put questions into the chat, but we will not answer any questions until near the end of the program, and any we cannot get to, we will follow up with folks on after our program. With that, I'm super excited now to introduce Howard. Howard served for 4 years in the United States Navy, including a tour in Desert Storm in 2010, despite his service, his lawful permanent residency status, and having resided in the US nearly his entire life. ICE arrested him early in the morning on his front lawn with his children as witness to be placed into immigration detention on the basis of a sole marijuana conviction from many years prior. ICE learned of this conviction when Howard applied to become a US citizen and honestly disclosed it. After 2 years of fighting his case from various immigration detention facilities, he was deported, leaving behind his 2 young adolescent children, wife, the home he purchased with his VA loan, and a trucking business he ran with 4 employees. Last week, he returned home after a decade of fighting to get ICE to agree to reopen his case. Thank you so much, Howard, for being with us today and speaking with us.
Thank you so much, Nina, and thank you to everyone who is on the panel. Good morning or good afternoon, depends on where you're at. It's a joyous feeling today. I actually woke up in Virginia. I'm here with my brother, as you have previously mentioned, and my mother. And it's overwhelming right now. I still coming to grips that I'm actually home after fighting for so many years. So forgive me if my language or my talking is not settled as yet. But I've been fighting so long, it's kind of take a little time for me to be grounded. Okay. All right. Once I said again, it's just a joyous feeling. When I heard the news from Alicia, Nana, and Kyle, that ICE had agreed and that they would dismiss the charges and that there was a chance now that I can really come home. That was a big, big, big day for me. I remember where I was when I got the phone call and they was like, you got to click onto the Zoom link. And I had to drive all the way up into the hills so I could get some signal because I was way in the country. And when they told me, I was just filled with joy, man. And then the motion went in and they told me they're gonna do a humanitarian parole to get me started right away. And then it came back saying it was approved. That was another joyous day for me again. And then it finally happened. I got the green light that the charges, ICE had terminated my case with the immigration system. I came on the plane and then I reached Miami. All this time, my heart is beating because I still couldn't believe it. And then I reached Miami. As the plane landed, I heard the captain said, Howard Bailey to the front. I was shocked. I was like, what? Howard Bailey? I said, I'm here. Then he said, make your way to the front. I went up there. I saw 2 CBP members. And I was like, wow, what happened now? And I was like, hey, Howard. That was a big turn. He said, hey, man, welcome home. We CBP. We gonna help you with the process. Come on, let's go. I was like, what? He said, yeah, we're gonna make this easy for you. How you doing, buddy? You know what I'm saying? He said, you happy to be home? I was like, yes, I'm so happy. And I'm happy that you guys talking to me like this. It's a big difference, so yeah. Then the process went easy. Even the supervisor came out and shook my hand and he was like, you know what you gotta do next, right? He said, I'm not trying to get in your business or get personal, but you gotta get your citizenship. Don't let this happen again. I was like, right, I'm gonna try. It's not really up to me, but yeah, I tried before and that's why I'm here. Anyway, then we went to the plane and I got off in Reagan. The airport was big. It's been 11 years. I forgot what an airport looked like. So I was walking and just following the signs, exit, baggage claim. And then I turn the corner, I'm looking at the sign again and I hear, Rah! Then I looked, I saw my entire family, saw Nana, I saw Elisa. I've been talking to Elisa for 9 years. That was my first time seeing her. Yeah, that was finally the grounded part. Actually, I was in the arms of my family. And I just want to thank everyone that made it possible. Everyone who helped me along the way. Sometimes it was so dark and hard. I felt like giving up. I felt all kinds of emotions. But I know I wasn't going through all these emotions by myself. And that's what kept me going. I know my mom was hurting. I know my brothers was hurting. I know my kids was hurting. So I know I wasn't hurting by myself. So I keep on pushing. And to this day, I'm here. I'm not crying because I'm just saying, I'm just so happy to be home. Yeah. Need me to continue going? All right. Now that I'm back, I went to the VA last week. I'm trying, my heart is beating so fast. I'm overwhelmed with so many emotions. When I left, my kids was 12 and 14. That's all I see in my mind all these years. I'm coming back thinking, well, I'm gonna see a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. Now, they're grown now, and they've been through some stuff. As I'm sitting here, my son is locked up. I'm ashamed to say, I am ashamed and I feel some kind of way saying these things, but it is the truth. He's locked up as we speak right now. And it all started from a cell phone. And I'm saying to myself, I can't be mad at him. Yeah, I'm disappointed, but I understand. He didn't have his father. I'm the one who used to give his phone and pay his bills before I left. And this time, kids are on TikTok, Instagram, whatever. So how could I tell my son not to be on TikTok and Instagram? That's how they communicate now. No. My daughter, she thought, well, you was never there when I needed you the most. She doesn't understand immigration. She thought that I abandoned her. I neglect her. You know, before I left, I was her hero. You understand? If her bikes break down, she know daddy go fix it. If her ball, she need a ball, she know daddy go get it. Someone trouble her at school, she said, I'm gonna tell my daddy. Well, she lost all that. She didn't have her hero no more. She had to face all her teenage years all by herself. So there's a lot still need to be fixed. I'm very grateful to be home, I am. But even though I said I gotta relax from fighting mode, to be honest, the fight is not over. I got a lot more fight to do. And I'm gonna keep on fighting. What I've been through is not unique. I've been in touch with Hector for a couple of years. Well, he was deported also. He got spit on, looked down on. He didn't see his daughter relationship. While we was communicating, I understand that because I was going through the same thing. And that's something I don't wish in no family in this world. I love my country, man. I live in this country for a long time. I built my life. I built my company. My family bond was very, very strong. You understand? And after I left, my brother, we talked last night, Nina, even though I was supposed to get some rest for today, but my brother called me and he was like, this is a brother moment. He broke down. It was like I used to fly to Virginia every year, 2 times a year. He said, I haven't been back there in 10 years, man. He's trying to come over right now. So we're gonna build this family. I know the road is long because it's not a sprint, but I'm ready for it. And I just don't wish this on any other family, okay? There's other brothers out there hurting right now. There's other mothers out there hurting. There's other children out there hurting. They don't have their hero. We need our heroes, man. So we can have our future children, our generation. Okay.
Thank you so much, Howard. Thank you so much for once again for being courageous and for your leadership, your continued advocacy on behalf of others, even when you're in a moment of rebuilding your family and pushing forward. I can speak for myself that I'm so grateful to be a part of this moment with you. And I know there are so many others as well. So thank you very much. Just a few weeks prior to Howard's arrival home, he testified live from Jamaica about his experiences again before a US Senate Judiciary Subcommittee hearing led by US Senator Padilla. Following that hearing, Senator Padilla sent a letter to the Department of Homeland Security urging the agency to reopen Howard's immigration proceedings and consider his application for humanitarian parole. We are so grateful to have you here today, Senator. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Nina and Howard. Just thank you so much for sharing with us, for trusting so many who were there to help, and you continue to be a hero in many ways. You know, it's not always easy to share our experiences, and as men, it's not always easy to share our emotions, but it is so important, and it's part of this process for you as an individual and as an example for so many others. And you're going to continue to be a fighter. You're going to continue to be a hero and I feel blessed to be part of this celebration with you. So let me just begin by saying hello and thank you to everybody for joining us today as we celebrate Howard Bailey's return home to America and to his family. And I also want to make sure to thank the National Immigration Justice Center and the Immigrant Defense Project for their tremendous work on behalf of Mr. Bailey and his family and so many other individuals facing injustice and unfairness in our current immigration system. You know, in June, as you just heard, I did have the honor of welcoming Mr. Bailey as a witness to testify virtually, of course, before the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee on Immigration, Citizenship, and Border Safety. And as we shared in that hearing, and I'll share it again today, we owe Mr. Bailey a debt of gratitude for his military service. And maybe on that note, it's important to just take a second, take a pause, and offer our thoughts and prayers for the women and men of the armed services that are serving today around the world, especially those in Afghanistan. And we grieve for the soldiers that have lost their lives here in the last couple of weeks, aiding in the evacuation of U.S. citizens and refugees from Afghanistan. Several that have paid the ultimate sacrifice in defense of the nation, in the defense of our democracy. That's what Mr. Bailey did when he served. He served, he sacrificed, was prepared to pay the ultimate sacrifice on behalf of the United States of America. Thankfully, he did not pay the ultimate sacrifice, but through that service, we've known that he deserved better and others deserve better than the treatment through the current immigration system. You know, speaking of the armed services, less than 1% of people in the United States choose to serve in our armed forces. You know, the United States is not one that has mandatory military service, it's all voluntary. And less than 1% of the people in our nation choose to serve as soldiers, as sailors, or National Guard members. Brave individuals like Mr. Bailey risk their lives to keep us safe and secure our position in the world. Yet thousands of permanent residents enlist in the military each year, not just citizens. Thousands of permanent residents enlist each year, and they bring critically needed skills to our armed forces. And yet too many veterans end up separated from their families because of delays in processing their citizenship applications, because of harsh criminal penalties at various levels of government, and you know, because of our outdated immigration laws. And so it is an outrage that our laws force the deportation of Mr. Bailey, who served honorably and lost his green card over a minor infraction, an infraction that was pardoned a long time ago. And so after hearing Mr. Bailey's testimony, I sent a letter to the Department of Homeland Security to urge them to reconsider, to reopen his immigration proceedings and to grant him humanitarian parole, which was done, as you've heard. And I'm just thrilled to welcome Mr. Bailey home to his family today. Howard, if I may call you Howard, I saw the video. Your family shared the video of when you arrived at the airport in Washington, and I smiled. I shared in that joy, might have shared a few tears as well, because of how beautiful that moment was and how hard I know you worked for that opportunity. But sadly, many other veterans are still waiting for their chance to come home. You know, the Trump administration spent 4 years weakening our national security by blocking paths to citizenship for service members, for active duty service members. And as a result, active duty service members have found themselves in deportation proceedings. Thousands of non-citizen veterans live at risk of losing their lawful status in the United States, despite years of service and honorable discharge at times. We must act to repair the damage caused by these policies. You know, in addition, an estimated 11,800, almost 12,000 current service members have a family member facing deportation. Imagine, it's hard enough to imagine the stress of serving in uniform in areas of conflict around the world, and to think that those service members that protect us serve while worrying every day that maybe a parent or a spouse or another relative might be deported. Immigrant veterans and their families have earned the permanency of citizenship in the country that they have given so much for. And our military needs diverse recruits to prepare and stay prepared for the challenges of the 21st century. So I am encouraged by the steps the Biden administration is taking to prioritize our nation's deported veterans and service members. And I'm looking forward to seeing these initiatives carried through. And so, Howard, again, we're happy for you. We're thrilled for your whole family. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Senator Padilla, for joining us, and especially for your leadership, not only on Howard's case, but in supporting immigrant veterans who are seeking to come home. As you said, we've already seen positive steps from the administration with a commitment to helping deported veterans find a pathway home and to citizenship. All of this work builds on years of organizing and work done by many, including Hector Barajas, who Howard mentioned, of the deported veterans, and others around the country and world. Next, I'm also honored to introduce Elisa Wellick, Howard's attorney, who represented him for the past decade. She is a founding attorney of Just Counsel and former executive director of the Immigrant Defense Project. Elisa, thank you so much.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I have represented Howard for almost a decade now, first at the Immigrant Defense Project and now at Just Counsel. And I'll just say, it was so moving to be there in person and see Howard at the airport last week, reunited with his incredible family, who has just never given up the fight to bring Howard home, who I've talked to, text with, done so much with over the years. And it made me think about, the first time I remember speaking to Howard, I think he had been deported about 3 years earlier and was trying to find a way to come home. And, he's this incredibly compelling person, as you've all seen here and over the years. And as I looked into Howard's case, it just became so clear that what happened to him touched all of the injustices, all the cruelties and racism that are baked into our criminal and immigration systems. Just to name a few of the ways, Howard was targeted for a marijuana offense, for which we know Black communities are disproportionately prosecuted, and I know Nana's going to talk a little bit about later. His attorney at the time gave him bad legal advice and told him to plead guilty. It wouldn't impact his green card, which obviously it did. And then Howard himself disclosed his offense when he applied to naturalize, and the government responded by sending armed ICE agents to his home around dawn in front of his children. Howard then spent 2 years locked up in immigration detention fighting his case, which is all too common. And then because our immigration laws are so harsh when it comes to almost any criminal offense, the judge in Howard's case couldn't even consider all his contributions, including his military service. And that happens with so many other folks who've contributed so much to our society in different ways, and judges aren't even allowed to weigh that against their deportation. And then lastly, when Howard tried to reopen his criminal case, once he understood what the consequences were for him and his family, it was too late under Virginia law. So I have sought support for Howard's case from so many people over the years, way too many to name here. It included pro bono attorneys, nonprofits, organizers, law school clinics, journalists, and elected officials. I would just like to especially thank my co-counsel, Kyle Dandelot, and his team at Clary Gottlieb and the Rapid Defense Network, as well as the Immigrant Defense Project, National Immigrant Justice Center, Immigrant Justice Network, and Deported Veterans, and so many other groups that have supported Howard over the years. Together, we have all gotten Howard a pardon from the governor of Virginia. We've met with US senators and representatives who made direct phone calls to the Homeland Security secretaries under 3 presidential administrations. We supported Supreme Court cases that would help Howard. We prepared and filed so many legal motions in his case. Howard and his family spoke to reporters, to filmmakers, before members of Congress. And this year, finally, we were overjoyed and so grateful when Senator Padilla took up Howard's cause and the Biden administration agreed to join our motion to reopen and terminate Howard's case. And these really Herculean efforts by too many people to name, including really Howard himself and his family, have resulted in what should have always been the case. Howard is finally home with those who love him. And I believe deeply, and I know everyone here does, that no one deserves to go through what Howard went to. And I know Howard and his family are committed to making sure that doesn't happen as well. To this day, Howard is truly not safe until he becomes a US citizen, as he had mentioned, which, we fear could be another uphill battle. And these kinds of efforts really are just not possible for all the people who need them. And so that is why we need a better process to give unjustly deported individuals a meaningful chance to come home, and which NIGC is doing so much great work on. And we really need to change the laws that result in these injustices in the first place. Howard has fought for years for himself, for fellow veterans, and for others who have been criminalized and suffered under our immigration laws. Those of us who know Howard and his amazing family have set up a GoFundMe to support Howard's new start and give back to Howard as he has given to so many others. And we'd love it if you help spread the word. It's gofund.me and it's /810-333-E4, and I will share it in the chat. So we'd love it if folks could support on social media and just, want to give back to Howard as he has given to so many others. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elisa, for your words. And also NIJC wants to thank Kyle Dandelet and the Cleary Gottlieb team in New York and the Immigrant Defense Project again for all of their work on Howard's case. I understand that the senator has to leave us in just a couple of minutes, so we wanted to echo our gratitude one more time for his leadership and his presence here today and celebrating Howard's return. We will hear in a moment from Nana Gamfi and then take questions after the senator leaves about Howard's case. But again, Senator, we're so grateful to have had you and to be a part of your continuing efforts to support immigrant veterans, especially, and those who've been separated and deported from their family. Thank you again for being with us today.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you for all your work. And once again, to the entire Bailey family, congratulations and God bless you.
You're on mute, Howard. I think you're maybe saying something to the senator, but you're on mute.
Yeah, I was just saying, thank you to Senator Padilla. Thank you so much. And yeah.
We will visit in person, Howard. We will visit in person. Okay, let's work on that as the next step.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
So as Howard himself said a little while ago, his case, well, I should say, Howard is an exceptional leader and fighter. And for any of us who've been lucky to get to know him the past few months or the past several years, he's an inspiration. But his case is not an exception in the US immigration system. He is one of hundreds of deported veterans who are fighting to return home, and one of thousands of Black and brown immigrants who've been deported because of contact with the US criminal legal system, a system that we know to be discriminatory and biased from front to end. And so with that, I'm so honored to introduce Nana Gamfi, who is the Executive Director of the Black Alliance for Just Immigration, to speak to us more about efforts to decriminalize the US immigration system so that it does not inflict the kind of pain and suffering that has been inflicted on Howard's family. Thank you, Nana.
Thank you so very much, Nana. Thank you. Thanks to the National Immigration Justice Center for inviting Baji to join this celebration. And thanks to all of you for joining us as we welcome our brother Howard. Howard, we are so glad that you are home with your family and with our community. You never should have been deported. You never should have been separated from them and from us. And we're thrilled that you have also committed yourself to this fight on behalf of others who have been ripped away from their families and communities through deportation. Our brother Howard was ripped away from us because of the anti-Black racism embedded in the criminal sanctions and immigration enforcement systems. Black immigrants are racially profiled, over-policed, overcharged, and over-sentenced, as are our African-American siblings by the criminal legal system. And if we survive the trauma and the violence of the criminal legal system, unlike African Americans, we are then subjected to more trauma and more violence by the immigration, detention, and deportation machine. Black, brown, and Asian migrants are too often exiled from our communities because of contact with the criminal legal system at the expense of hundreds of thousands of migrants. Hundreds of thousands. In 2019 alone, 153,000 migrants from Mexico were deported. The top 3 countries of deportation are Mexico, countries in Central America, as well as India. However, when we look at proportion, Black migrants like Howard are disproportionately impacted by criminalization in this country. Even though Black migrants are about 8% of the foreign-born population here, when we look at all migrants that are facing deportations, Black migrants are 20% of those migrants. So 1 out of every 5 migrants that is facing deportation is a Black migrant. Then when we look at Black migrants themselves who are facing deportation, 76% of Black migrants facing deportation are being deported on criminal grounds. In 2019, that translated into 97% of all Jamaicans who were deported on criminal grounds. When we look at other parts of the Caribbean, we see that 100%, every single person deported from those Caribbean countries were deported on criminal grounds. And all of this is in spite of the fact that study after study has shown us that Black migrants do not commit crimes at rates higher than other races of migrants. In fact, there are studies that show that the rate of crime is less with Black migrants. On top of that, Black migrants are subjected to higher bonds, longer times in detention, and are held in solitary confinement at rates 6 times higher than migrants of other races. This is the context in which our brother Howard was criminalized, caged, forcibly exiled from his family for 10 long years in a cruel mockery of justice. Some of us had been saying it for years, but I know, and you know, that we collectively said this last summer. In meetings, convenings, webinars, social media posts, and all the places in between, we who believe in freedom and racial justice pledged to fight to keep the racism of the criminal legal system out of immigration policy and processes, including pathways to citizenship. You heard Howard talk about how he had tried to be a citizen before, how Nana talked about how that flagged that for his arrest. And you know that even today, as we are looking at the pathways to citizenship that are moving forward, that we continue to have to fight to make sure that there are no additional criminal bars that will prevent folks like Howard from gaining their citizenship. We want to make sure that the pathways to citizenship leave no one behind. The criminalization of Black migrants should be a central concern for everyone who understands racial justice and racial equity. Welcome home, Howard. May the ancestors guide and protect you and your family. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nana, for your, as always, powerful, inspiring words and advocacy. And a reminder to all of us that setting up a central process to give people a meaningful chance to come home is a call to redress racial injustice. Howard himself today told all of us that he does not wish this on any other families. And as Nana just explained, he is unfortunately one of so many For this reason at NIJC, we continue to urge the Biden administration to set up a central process to give others a chance to come home. There are others like Gene Montreville who are included in our paper, was deported because of his efforts to lead as an immigrants' rights advocate in retaliation under the Trump administration. Others like Connaught Lawrence, who like Howard were removed based on decades-old criminal convictions. So with that, we wanted to make sure to open up. I know we are behind show a bit here, but if there are folks who have questions, you're welcome again to enter them into the chat. I don't believe we've had any so far. But we're happy to take a few minutes to answer any questions. Howard, myself, Nana, Elisa, anybody on the line. So I'll just pause to let folks type in any questions they have as we wrap our program. And if there are any we can't answer, we're happy to answer those after the program as well. I'm going to wait another minute. Any other questions in the chat? Okay, it looks like we have one person with their hand up and then a question. So I'm going to start with the question from Julia Preston. This is for you, Elisa. Julia Preston asks, what are remaining obstacles for Howard's citizenship? And she's asking from the Marshall Project, if you're able to help answer that. Thank you.
Sure. Hi, Julia. So Howard still has the criminal offense on his record, and unfortunately, immigration laws are so harsh that even though he was pardoned, it could still prevent him from becoming a citizen. So we want to try to do everything we can and get, all the supporters and elected officials we can to support him in applying, but it could still be an uphill battle.
And I can just add that the administration's announced its policy a few weeks ago, committing to supporting deported veterans and immigrant veterans in a pathway to citizenship, but we are still waiting to see how that will be implemented and what that process will look like. And we continue to call on the administration to quickly get that set up so that we have answers for how to do this, because we don't really have that right now. I believe O'Brien Bailey has his hand up with a question. Howard, I don't know if that's your brother by chance from California. I don't know if you want to unmute O'Brien if you had a question. We want to try to quickly wrap up with questions here. I don't see you unmuted, or if you want to chat in. Okay, we see your face. You're still on mute, unfortunately. Okay, I'm going to go to one quick last question while we wait for you, O'Brien. We have, can you list the barriers that stand in the way of setting up a system to review past cases like that of Howard? What can all of us do to urge the Biden administration to act? Nana, I don't know if you want to take a piece of that question. What can we all do to urge the Biden administration to act? And for the first part, I would point everybody to our NIJC white paper, which we can chat again to the link, which talks about some of the barriers and challenges facing people who are trying to return home under current procedures. But Nana, we'd be grateful for any of your last closing thoughts on what we can all do to continue to advocate with the Biden administration on this.
So there's ways that we can do this. One way is to loop into the campaigns that are being pushed by organizations like BAJI, like NIJC, like Just Council, because there's work that we're doing consistently, and we'll be asking for people to sign on, for people to sign petitions, for people to do phone zaps, call, etc. So get engaged that way. You can also get engaged by reaching out to veterans organizations where you are and pushing that issue and asking them to push with the Biden administration, either through the Veterans Affairs Office or directly with DHS. But there's campaigns going on all the time. Please pay attention to to those campaigns, share those campaigns, and engage those campaigns as we engage the administration.
Thank you so much, Nana. In light of the time and with apologies to you, O'Brien, we will make sure to connect with you separately. Oh, not a question, it says. However, I would like to take this opportunity to say thanks to you for all your efforts, to all veterans. Well, thank you, O'Brien, for those words, but we are, I think, just mostly so grateful to you and your family for all of your efforts and willingness to share your experience in effort to help others come home. So thank you so much. And thank you to everyone for joining us today. Please feel free to reach out with any questions. We're happy at NIJC to connect you with any of our speakers today, and hope that everyone has a good rest of the week and can at least absorb this as a celebratory moment as we continue to advocate on behalf of our communities. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Howard. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Adrian. Bye, Jean.